They told us the snow would stop by morning. But the snow doesn't care about promises. It keeps falling, quiet and endless, covering everything that's still breathing. It's strange, how silence can be louder than the guns. I used to think the worst sound in war was the screaming. Now I know. It's the moments when nothing moves. When you realize the world is already stopped. And you're just too stubborn to notice. My name's Thomas Miller, Private First Class, 101st Infantry. It's December 1944, somewhere in the Belgian woods. And this is the last letter I'll ever try to write.
Dear Emily, if this letter ever reaches you, I want you to know I tried, not just to stay alive, but to stay human. That's harder out here than anyone ever tells you. The cold has a way of stripping everything away. Out here, warmth feels like a story someone made up long ago. It creeps through the seams of our jackets, through our boots, through the tiny cracks in our thoughts. It makes us quiet. It makes us small. We're somewhere deep in the Ardennes now. I told this would just be a short assignment, but it's been days, maybe weeks. I stopped counting after Christmas Eve. It didn't feel like Christmas anyway. We tried singing carols that night, but our voices just turned to mist and vanished in the snow. The snow is relentless. It's thick and wet and so white it hurts to look at for too long. Every sound feels swallowed by it. When I walk, I can barely hear my own steps. Sometimes I imagine it's like walking on clouds, except these clouds are made of ice and silence. I can't sleep much. When I close my eyes, I hear the wind moaning through the trees. It sounds like someone whispering my name. Sometimes I think it's you. Sometimes I wish it were. Hughes tried to start a small fire last night, but the wood was too wet. He cursed for a good 5 minutes, then laughed at himself. That's the thing out here. You either laugh or you lose your mind. He asked me what I missed most about home. I told him warm socks. He laughed again. But the truth is, I wanted to say you. The other men are changing too. The cold gets into them, but it's not just their fingers that go numb, it's their hearts. Jenkins still keeps that photo of his baby girl inside his helmet. He looks at it every morning before we move out, like he's trying to remember what a smile looks like. Marlowe stopped talking altogether. He just stares into the woods like he's expecting someone to walk out of them. Someone who never will. The rations are running low. The coffee's gone. We melt snow in our helmets for water. The taste of metal stays in my mouth for hours. Sometimes I chew on a piece of ice just to trick my stomach into feeling full. It's funny the things I miss. The smell of bacon in the morning. The creak of our porch steps when I came home from work. The way you'd hum that silly tune when you cooked. You probably don't even know you do that, but I always noticed. It's strange what sticks with you when everything else falls apart. A few days ago, a supply plane flew over us, but it didn't drop anything. Maybe they didn't see us. Or maybe they thought we were already gone. Either way, it reminded me that the world keeps moving, even when you're stuck in one place, frozen in time. Last night, as I tried to sleep, I remembered something from when I was a kid. My father once told me that winter has two faces, the one that kills you and the one that keeps you alive. The first freezes your body, the second forces you to move, to fight for the smallest spark of warmth. I think about that a lot lately. Maybe that's what this war is too. A cold that wants to turn us into statues, and we keep walking because we refuse to be frozen men.
I still have the ring you gave me before I left. It's tied to a piece of string around my neck. I touch it when I get scared, which is more often than I'd like to admit. Sometimes it feels warm, even when everything else is ice. Maybe that's just me imagining things, but I'll take what I can get. If I close my eyes, I can see your face again. Not the way the photo shows it, those always make you look too serious. But the way you smiled that last night before I boarded the train. You tried to be brave for me, and I tried to be brave for you. Maybe that's all any of us are doing. Pretending long enough to make it through another day. The snow keeps falling as I write this. It's quiet, peaceful even. But I know better now. The silence isn't peace. It's the world holding its breath, waiting for something terrible to begin. If this letter ever finds its way home, I hope it carries a little warmth with it. Just enough to remind you that somewhere, in all this cold, I'm still thinking of you.
There are 6 of us left now. 6 men trying to remember what it means to feel alive. We used to have 12. That was only a week ago. Maybe less. Time doesn't move straight out here. It twists and folds like smoke. I try not to count the days or the bodies anymore. Counting makes you realize how much you've lost, and there's no comfort in numbers. The last one we buried was Private Allen. He was from Nebraska. Said he worked in his father's garage before the draft. He used to hum old country tunes while cleaning his rifle, like the war was just another long shift at the shop. When the shell hit, he didn't make a sound, just dropped. We dug his grave with our helmets because the ground was too frozen for shovels. Marlowe said a prayer. Nobody answered, not even the wind. After that, the silence grew thicker. It's strange, Emily, when someone dies out here, the world doesn't stop. The snow keeps falling. The sky stays gray. You look around, and everything is exactly the same. Except there's one less person breathing beside you. We don't say names much anymore. Maybe it's superstition, maybe it's fear. Saying a name feels like calling death's attention. So we talk in half sentences now. Where's the corporal? Gone. Who's on watch? Me. No one says the word dead. It's too heavy. Too final.
Jenkins keeps that picture of his little girl under his helmet strap. Her name's Rosie. She's 2 years old. He talks about her sometimes, but only in whispers, like saying her name too loud might bring bad luck. He told me once that he dreams about pushing her on a swing when he's freezing in his foxhole. Says the rhythm of the swing keeps him from losing his mind. Then there's Marlowe. He's changed the most. He used to be loud, always joking, always swearing, the kind of man who made you forget where you were for a few minutes. Now he just stares. I caught him yesterday looking at the sky for so long his face turned white. I asked what he was thinking about. He said, "I forgot what blue looks like." Sometimes at night I can hear him talking to someone who isn't there. Maybe he's praying. Maybe he's trying to remember the sound of his own voice. I can't tell anymore. Hughes is still the steady one. He's older than the rest of us, 35, I think. He's got 2 kids back home. You can see it in his eyes. He carries them with him everywhere, like ghosts he refuses to let go of. He's the one who keeps us moving, who says 1 more mile or 1 more night, like it's a promise that means something. But last night, when no one was watching, I saw him cry. He wiped his face quick, but I saw. There's no shame in it, not out here. As for me, I've started forgetting my own reflection. There's no mirrors here, no glass.
Sometimes I touch my face to make sure I'm still real. My beard's grown wild and the skin on my hands is cracked open from the cold. I used to worry about little things: clean shirts, shoes polished, hair combed. Now I just hope my fingers keep working long enough to reload. You'd laugh if you saw the things we talk about. We've discussed coffee for an hour straight. We've argued about whether snow tastes different in different places. Jenkins swears it does. I said it all tastes like loneliness. He laughed, but it wasn't the happy kind. We've been out of contact with command for days. No radio messages, no orders. The static is constant, like the world's whispering nonsense we're not supposed to understand. Every now and then we think we hear something, voices, maybe a signal, but when we try to answer, nothing comes back. I keep wondering if anyone out there still knows we're alive. Maybe they think we're gone. Maybe they're right. I've noticed something strange too. We've stopped saying when we get home. Now it's always if. If we get home, I'll buy you a beer. If I see my wife again, I'll take her dancing. That little word changes everything. It makes every breath feel borrowed. Sometimes I whisper your name under my breath, just to remember what hope sounds like. It's the only name I'm not afraid to say.
I never told you what really happened back in Bastogne. Maybe I was trying to protect you, or maybe I was trying to protect myself from remembering. But out here, memories don't fade. They wait. They sit in the dark until everything goes quiet, and then they come crawling back. We lost Carter that morning. He was 17, maybe 18. Couldn't even grow a proper beard yet. He was the kind of kid who smiled too much for a place like this. Always talking about baseball. Always polishing his boots, even when they'd be covered in mud an hour later. Said he didn't want to let down the uniform. He died fast. Too fast to understand what happened. 1 second he was laughing about a joke Hughes told, and then there was just dirt and fire and silence. I can still see the way he fell, like someone had cut his strings, like the world just decided to drop him. After we buried him, no one said a word. We didn't pray. We didn't even take off our helmets. There's only so many times a man can ask God for something before the words start feeling empty. That day changed me. I think it changed all of us, but I felt something inside me harden. You start to realize the war isn't a story, it's an infection. It gets inside you, turns you into something you don't recognize. Back home, I thought courage was about facing fear. Out here, courage is about pretending you still care when everything around you is falling apart. We used to help the wounded, even when it meant risking our own lives. But now, when the shells start falling, instinct takes over. You keep your head down. You protect your own. You tell yourself there'll be time later to save someone else, but there never is. It's not that we stop caring, it's that the caring hurts too much.
There was another man, a German soldier we captured last week. Just a boy, really. Maybe 20. His uniform was torn. His hands shaking so hard he couldn't even hold his own weapon. He spoke a little English. Said he didn't want to fight anymore. Said he just wanted to go home. He showed us a photo of his mother. She looked like any woman back home. Kind eyes, small smile. A face that didn't deserve to lose her son to this madness. For a moment, I hated how human he looked. I gave him a cigarette. He thanked me. Then command ordered him move to the rear. We never saw him again. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about him. About Carter. About you. I realized that every side of this war is filled with the same thing. Men trying to get home, and women praying they do. It made me angry, and I don't even know who at. Maybe at the world. Maybe at God. Maybe at myself for still believing that any of this could make sense. When you're surrounded by death long enough, you start to see it differently. It stops being a threat and becomes a kind of companion. It's always there, walking beside you, whispering, reminding you that you're still temporary. You stop fearing it. You just get tired of waiting for your turn.
I wonder sometimes what you'd think if you saw me now. You remember how you used to tease me for being soft-hearted? Said I'd make a lousy soldier because I couldn't even kill a spider in the kitchen. Well, I've done things now that I never thought I could. Things I won't write here. Things I'll spend the rest of my life trying to forget if I get a rest of my life. But here's the strange part, Emily. After all that, I still feel human. Not because I'm proud of what I've done, but because I still feel guilty for it. I think maybe that's the last piece of a man that war can't take, his guilt. It's the proof that something inside him is still alive, still fighting out to turn into stone. I hold on to that. Not medals, not orders, not even hope sometimes. Just that small ache inside that reminds me I haven't gone completely numb. I keep telling myself this: when the war ends, and it will someday, I'll come home and learn how to live again. Not as a soldier, but as a man who's seen too much and still chooses to love. If that day comes, I promise I'll never waste another second pretending to be brave. I'll just hold you, and that'll be enough.
It started snowing again at dusk, the kind that comes down in lazy flakes and makes the world look clean, even when you know it isn't. We dug the foxhole deeper until the dirt turned to ice and the ice turned to rock. My fingers went numb inside the gloves. Then they burned when the blood tried to come back. That burn hurts worse than the cold sometimes. Feels like your hands are on fire and frozen at the same time. Hughes said we'd rotate watch in pairs, one listening, one looking. Eyes and ears, he called it, like we were still in training and the rules still mattered. Jenkins took first with me. We sat with our backs touching so we could feel if the other started to nod off. Every 10 minutes I squeezed his elbow. He squeezed back. Little code to say, I'm still here. The woods went quiet around midnight. No shells, no flares, no distant trucks. Just wind moving through the branches and the occasional crack of ice shifting under the snow. Somewhere out there, a tree split with a sound like a rifle shot, and all 6 of us ducked as if the sky had opened. And we waited, breathing shallow, counting in our heads. Nothing followed. We exhaled together. I tried to pray. The words didn't stick. I said the Lord's Prayer halfway and forgot the middle, like the part of my brain that keeps verses had frostbite. I whispered your name instead. It felt more honest. Maybe that's a kind of prayer too.
Marlowe started humming under his breath, a tune I couldn't place. He was 2 holes over, wrapped in a blanket that looked more like wet burlap and wool. The sound of it made me think of a bar back home, the way a piano sounds when the lid's cracked and the player's half drunk but still trying. He stopped when Hughes shushed him. Not angry, just careful. Sound travels funny at night. It carries secrets. We checked our boots for frostbite, took them off one at a time, rubbed the feet with dry socks, and put the wet ones under our shirts so the body heat could try to make a miracle. Jenkins said his toes felt like glass. I told him glass still shines. He laughed once, then covered his mouth like laughter might give us away. Around 1 in the morning, a flare went up to the east. Ours or theirs, I couldn't tell. It turned the trees into bones and the snow into a pale ocean. For a few heartbeats, the world was bright and ugly, every shadow hard-edged, every breath hanging heavy. We froze in place, faces down, rifles ready. Not because we wanted to fight, but because being ready felt like all we had. The light fell slow, and then died. The dark folded over us again like a blanket with holes in it. We talked passwords. Yesterday's countersign was Apple. Today we didn't have one. The radio's been dead since morning, just a belly full of buzzing and hiss. Hugh said if anyone came close, we'd ask for a name that no German could fake without giving it away. He picked Cleveland, said he liked the way the V sits in the middle, hard to shape if your tongue isn't used to it. I didn't argue. I kept thinking about Lake Erie for no good reason at all. There was a moment, maybe around 2, when I thought I heard engines, the heavy kind, like something armored, like the ground itself is breathing. We all went still. Even the wind seemed to stop to listen. It passed, or maybe it was just the blood in my ears. That's how the night plays tricks. It takes normal sounds and dresses them up as danger until your heart's pounding so loud you're sure the enemy can hear it.
Hughes leaned over the edge of our hole and asked, quiet as he could, "You think we'll make it through tomorrow?" He didn't look at me when he said it. He looked at his hands, chapped and cracked like old leather. I said yes, without thinking. The kind of yes a man says to a dying horse because it would be cruel to say anything else. He nodded once, as if I'd given him medicine. I wanted to take the word back and replace it with the truth, but the truth doesn't warm anyone. The lie felt kinder. We split a chocolate bar that had turned white from age. It tasted like dust in Christmas. I let it melt on my tongue until it was gone. I tried to remember our kitchen. Tile cold under bare feet, kettle whining, your hand tapping the table in time with something only you could hear. It came back to me like a photograph left in the rain, edges curling, faces fading. I held the ring under my shirt and waited for it to warm. It did, a little. The longest hour was the one just before 3. They say that's when most men die, the body at its lowest, the night at its deepest. I don't know if that's true, but I believe it now. My thoughts got small and sharp like needles. I counted breaths. I named the men under mine like beads on a string. Jenkins, Marlowe, Hughes, Thomas. I added your name to the end because it made the list feel like home. A fox crossed the clearing with his belly low to the snow. We watched it the way you'd watch a fire you're not allowed to touch. It vanished between the trunks without a sound. For a second, the whole war looked like something that could slip away that easily. If only we learned how. Around 4, the wind shifted and brought the smell of smoke. Damp wood smoke, not diesel. Campfire. Close enough to taste on the back of the tongue. We passed the word along in whispers. Left! Smoke! Nobody moved. Moving would have meant deciding something. We chose not to decide. I wrote a few lines to you in my head I knew I'd never get on paper. How the stars looked punched through thin tin. How the cold stung like truth. How the fear came and went like a tide. If I survive tomorrow, I told myself I'll write them down for real. If I don't, maybe they'll still find you. Carried on whatever part of me doesn't freeze. The sky finally began to change without looking like it changed. The black thinned. The snow took on a color that wasn't white anymore, but not yet gray. Birds tried a note and thought better of it. Hugh squeezed my shoulder once. Steady. We both knew what it meant. The night had done its part. The rest was up to men. I checked the bolt, checked the magazine, checked the photo of you I keep folded near my heart. I told myself, out loud this time, so soft the words barely left my lips, 1 more hour, 1 more mile. They didn't sound brave. They sounded like steps on a long road.
When the first pale light showed between the trees, the snow stopped for a breath, as if the world wanted to listen in. I listened too, past the wind, past my own pulse, past the lies and the prayers. Somewhere out there, boots crushed ice. Ours or theirs, I couldn't tell. I didn't need to. Morning was coming, and with it the part of war that has no words. The morning came slow, like a wounded animal crawling through the trees. The snow had stopped, but the sky still looked heavy, gray on gray, as if the sun didn't have the heart to rise anymore. We started moving before dawn, boots crunching in rhythm, rifles slung low, shoulders hunched against the cold. Hughes led the way, compass in hand, though none of us knew if it still pointed anywhere worth going. The frost bit through every layer of fabric, but no one complained. Complaining would have meant someone could fix it. The forest felt older that morning, like it had seen this all before. The trees stood like quiet witnesses, scarred and patient, waiting for men to come and die beneath them again. Every now and then a crow would startle from a branch and vanish into the fog, wings black against the pale air. The sound of it always made me think of doors closing. We didn't talk much. Jenkins kept muttering to himself, counting steps. Marlowe walked behind him, humming again, low, off-key, some tune that probably came from a memory he couldn't hold on to anymore. Hughes glanced back every few minutes just to make sure we were still following. I thought about breakfast, the way he'd fry eggs and then scold me for stealing toast before it hit the table. I could almost smell the butter, almost taste the coffee. It's strange how the body remembers warmth even when the world refuses to give it.
The last letter I got from you is still folded in my breast pocket. The ink's smudged, but I've read it so many times I don't need the words anymore. I can hear them. I can hear you saying, "Come back safe," like it's a promise we both knew was too fragile to hold. Around mid-morning, Hughes stopped us. He raised a hand, the signal for silence. We froze. The forest seemed to breathe. Then we heard it. Metal tracks, faint, distant, grinding against the frozen ground. Tanks, maybe a mile away. The sound crawled under our skin. Hughes whispered, "They're moving east. We'll wait it out." We crouched low in the snow, hearts pounding, every nerve awake. My hands were shaking so bad I pressed them together, pretending I was just cold. I wasn't. Fear has its own temperature. It burns and freezes at the same time. The sound faded, then vanished, swallowed by distance. We exhaled as one. I think we all expected the silence to bring relief, but it didn't. It just reminded us that quiet can kill too. Jenkins asked what time it was. Hughes looked at his watch, cracked and half frozen, and said, "Doesn't matter." He was right. Out here, time's a rumor. We rested for a bit. Marlowe took out his harmonica but didn't play it. He just held it, staring at it like it was something alive that might break if you made a sound. He told me once that his brother taught him to play when they were kids. Said they'd sit on the porch at night and play until their mother yelled that it was time for bed. I asked him what song he missed most. He said, "The one I can't remember anymore."
I don't know why, but that broke something in me. Maybe because that's what war really does. It steals your music first. When we started moving again, I found myself whispering the words to a prayer I didn't know I still remembered. Not for victory, not even for mercy, just for the chance to feel the ground one more time, to breathe one more breath without fear pressing against my chest. The wind picked up, bringing the smell of oil and smoke. That's how you know something's coming. The air changes. It feels thicker, heavier, like the world itself is holding its breath. Hughes stopped again at a clearing. The snow there was untouched. Perfect. He looked around, then down at his boots. "This is it," he said quietly. "We dig in here." No one argued. We dropped our packs, adjusted our rifles, and started to carve holes into the earth. The dirt was hard, unyielding, but we worked fast. Every shovel of frozen soil felt like writing our own names into the ground.
While I dug, I kept thinking about the lake. The one where you fell asleep on my shoulder before the fireworks. You remember that night? I do. The air smelled like pine and gunpowder, and your hair brushed against my cheek when you turned to look at the sky. You asked what I wished for. I told you I didn't believe in wishes. Truth is, I just didn't want to say it out loud. I wished for this never to end. Now I'd trade every sunrise for one more hour of that night. Just one. The sky darkened again around noon. The snow started falling sideways this time, driven by the wind. Jenkins whispered, "It's starting." Hughes just nodded. None of us said what we all knew, that by tomorrow, some of us wouldn't be here to see if the storm passed. So I'm writing this now, before the noise begins again, before the sky falls apart, before the silence is gone for good. If this ends tonight, Emily, know that I thought of you every single day. Every step, every breath. And if I don't make it home, then let this letter be my way of saying goodbye before the world forgets my voice.
It's morning now. At least that's what the light says. The sun doesn't rise here. It just fades the dark into another shade of gray. The snow has stopped, but the wind hasn't. It moves through the trees like breath, long and cold and alive. The forest smells of iron and smoke, and somewhere far off, something burns. The sound is faint but constant, a low hum that sits under everything, like the earth itself is waiting. We're dug in along a shallow ridge. Jenkins is beside me trying to light a cigarette with hands that won't stop shaking. Hughes is checking the line, whispering to each man like a priest before confession. Marlowe hasn't said a word since dawn. He just stares ahead, eyes empty, lips moving in a silent rhythm. Maybe he's praying. Maybe he's already gone inside himself, to some place quieter. The sky has that strange stillness that gets right before thunder. Only this isn't weather. It's war taking a deep breath. The air feels heavy, like it's carrying secrets we're not meant to know.
I can't tell what time it is. Time doesn't mean much when the next minute could erase you. The hands on Hughes' watch froze last night at 3:17. Maybe that's the last true moment the world decided to keep. We've heard movement ahead. Boots on snow, engines sputtering to life, voices carried by the wind. They're close, closer than ever. The radio's dead again, just static and whispers like ghosts trying to speak through the wires. Jenkins finally got his cigarette lit. He offered me a drag, and I took it. It burned my throat, but the smoke felt warm, almost human. We passed it back and forth without a word. When it was gone, he smiled a little. I hadn't seen him smile in days. It looked strange on his face, like a memory trying to come back to life. I told him about you, about the house, the porch, the lake. He nodded and said, "You'll see her again." I didn't answer, not because I didn't believe him, but because I wanted to.
and belief hurts more than doubt out here. Then the sound came, distant at first, like thunder behind a hill. The ground began to tremble, a slow roll under our boots. Marlowe whispered, "It's starting." And then it did.
The first shells landed somewhere to our right. The earth jumped. The air cracked open. Snow turned to dust and smoke. I ducked low, pressed my body against the frozen ground, hands over my helmet, mouth open to keep my eardrums from bursting. Hughes shouted something, orders maybe, but the noise swallowed his words. The second barrage came closer. I felt the shockwave in my chest, like someone hit me with a hammer made of sound. Jenkins was firing now, shouting between bursts. I couldn't tell what he was aiming at. The smoke made everything a blur. Trees, men, sky, all blending together in a kind of chaos that didn't need shapes or names anymore. I tried to reload, but my hands wouldn't work. The bolt jammed. I hit it hard with my palm until it slid forward again. Somewhere to my left, Marlowe screamed. Then he stopped. The air was full of snow and dirt and voices that didn't sound human. And through all this, there was a strange moment, just a second, when everything went quiet. No explosions, no shouting, no wind, just quiet. I looked up. The world was white. The trees were gone. The sky looked close enough to touch. I thought about you. Not like a picture, but like a feeling. The way your hands felt on my neck that night before I left. The warmth of your breath when you said, "Come home." I wanted to tell you that I'm sorry. Sorry for every letter I didn't write. Sorry for thinking this war would make me more than I was. But most of all, I wanted to tell you that even here, in this frozen hell, I'm not afraid anymore. Because I know what's waiting for me. Your voice, your smile, the quiet. If this letter stops here, Emily, it's because the silence came for me. And maybe that's all right. Tell our son that his father wasn't brave. Just a man who kept walking through the snow because he couldn't stop thinking about home. Thomas.
This letter was found among the belongings of Private First Class Thomas Miller, 101st Infantry Division, after the winter of 1944. No official record of his final position was ever recovered. Some say he survived and returned home years later. Others say he never left those woods. But maybe, in a way, none of them ever do. If you're still listening, tell us where you're hearing this story from. And if you'd like to keep hearing the voices of those who never came back, follow this channel and turn on the bell, because their stories are only forgotten when we stop listening.